Yeah, man. Hey, man, look, okay. Look, you tried to tell me about them birds, okay, but I had money in the check. They gotta fix that defense, bro.
Cause I know it from the start. Baby, when you broke my heart, that I had to come again and show you that I'd win. Your love of mine.
Week 6, and we back. I don't know if you haven't heard or where you been, all right? But last week your boy went 11-5. Now me personally, I know I can do better. But for y'all, I'm pretty sure it's pretty impressive. Game number 1 on the slate. We kicking off from London again for the second week of the season. We got the Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Miami, although they have some pieces and the defense is pretty aggressive, this is the game that they need, and it's right on time. Unfortunately, Jacksonville, who was 0-5, will continue to skid downhill. Pray for Urban Meyer. But I'm taking Myles Gaskins, the Miami Dolphins. Shout out to Xavier Howard for the W. Game number 2 on the slate. We got the Green Bay Packers facing off against the Chicago Bears. Now, last week, I told you could put your chips on Aaron. Although Mason Crosby missing those 3 kicks made it a little difficult, in OT, him and Devontae Adams got it done. Now, on the other side of the ball, shout out to Justin Fields. He did his thing, went out to Las Vegas, got him a W against the Raiders, having all these problems off the field. Shout out to Khalil Mack for showing up with that defense and putting up a great performance. However, these two teams in week 6 square off against one another, and I got to put my chips on the discount double check for another week. Give me Green Bay. Game number 3 on the slate. We got the Cincy Bengals facing off against the Detroit Lions. Now, last week, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase did everything that they could try to get the W against Green Bay, but in the end, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams was just too much. Shout out to Mason Crosby for sealing the victory. On the other side of this matchup, we got the Detroit Lions that unfortunately are 0-5. But if you look at the schedule, they're fighting hard. If you remember the news conference, Dan Campbell, the head coach, even shed some tears. They trying to put it together, but unfortunately, I don't think it happens this week. I got to make a decision. Therefore, give me the young gunslinger, Joe Burrow. Game number 4 on the slate, we got the Houston Texans facing off against the Indy Colts. Now, me personally, I think this is going to be a great game. Last week, Houston punched New England in the mouth, but in the end, they couldn't sustain the lead and ended up taking the L to Mac Jones. Indianapolis did the same thing to Lamar Jackson on Monday night. Jumped out in front of him, but Lamar put on a historic performance, came from behind, secured the W. This week, they both get the restart, try to get a W, and honestly, I got to put my money on Carson Wentz and the Colts getting it done. Game number 5 on the slate. I got the LA Rams versus the New York Giants. Now, normally when a game like this shows up, you'll see me looking on my computer or reading my notes because I'm definitely predicting that it'll be a blowout. However, I feel like I could speak on these two teams. Last week, the Rams in Seattle got it done. Russell Wilson hurt his finger, which I do feel like played a major role in the win, but it was well needed and well deserved. The Giants got the doors blown off against the Dallas Cowboys down in Jerry World. However, Kadarius Toney really made some splash plays. These two teams versus one another this week. Give me the Rams by a lot. Game number 6 on the slate. We got the Kansas City Chiefs facing off against the Washington football team. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs are 4th in their division, and they have a record of 2-3. However, the best thing that they need to happen is about to happen, and that's a visit from the Washington football team, whose defense is ranked 32 in the NFL right now. I think Kansas City uses this as a game to get back on track. I think they put up big numbers, big points, and they look like the Kansas City of old, and they improve to 3-3. Game number 7 on the slate. I got the Minnesota Vikings squaring off against the Carolina Panthers. Now, last week, The Minnesota Vikings lost a close. See, yep, you hopped up, man. Threw me off. Threw me off, bro. Game number 7 on the slate. I got the Minnesota Vikings squaring off against the Carolina Panthers. Now, last week, Minnesota won a nail-biter against the Detroit Lions, 19-17. And Carolina actually got upset at home by the Philadelphia Eagles. This week, these two teams square off against one another. And if I have to make a decision, I think Kirk Cousins in that passing attack does what needs to be done and gets another W. Game number 8 on the slate. We got the Arizona Cardinals versus the Cleveland Brownies. Now, last week, Arizona struggled against San Francisco's defense because San Francisco put a premium on containing Kyler Murray. They did a great job keeping him in the pocket, and they slowed down the offense. Now, Cleveland put up 42 points against the Chargers, but in the end, it wasn't enough. Herbert had 400 yards, and I believe Austin Eckler had 3 TDs. This week, these two teams square off against one another, and I'm going to say it now. I have the Cleveland Browns winning simply because of the two-headed monster that they have in that backfield. Between Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, I see 250 yards of rushing and 4 TDs. Put your money on the Brownies. Game number 9 on the slate. I got the LA Chargers versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if you've been watching, both teams have been figuring out personnel. They've been adjusting in game and finding ways to win. This game is actually going to be my upset of the week. Right now, the Baltimore Ravens are favored by 2.5 points. And although the Chargers have to fly all the way from the West Coast to the East Coast, I think that they have enough weapons on offense, and I think they have an amazing front seven. They'll be able to contain Lamar Jackson just enough to allow Justin Herbert to come in and get the loot. Hey, man, does everybody look this good on camera? Or is it just me? Game number 10 on the slate. I got the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Denver Broncos. Now, if you've been paying attention to superstar selections, then you know I've been super high on Touchdown Teddy and the Denver Broncos defense. However, the schedule is starting to tighten up, and the competition is a lot more steep than weeks 1 through 3. On the other side of this matchup, we have the Raiders, who just lost their head coach due to racist and homophobic comments. I think now the team will lean more on Derek Carr, and I think that he will have a bigger voice with this offense. With that being said, I think they lean together, band together as brothers, and get a slight, narrow victory this week. This is going to be week 11. Game number 12 on the slate. We got the Seattle Seahawks versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, last week, unfortunately, Seattle lost their starting quarterback, Russell Wilson, to a finger injury, and now Geno Smith will be taking the reins. Pittsburgh got a surprising W for me against the Denver Broncos. These two squaring off against each other. I think Pittsburgh defense will be too much for Geno Smith to overcome. Give me Big Ben for the win. Game number 13 on the slate. We got the Buffalo Bills versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, I have to take time out to give a major shout out to my guy Saran, who came down, laid the lumber. He also went viral because they had 3 people covering him on the punt team. Shout out to that guy. Now, this week, these two teams, I don't really have a lot to say. All I'll say is that the Buffalo Bills will win by a lot. And ask Craig if you don't believe.